And we're back. What's going on, YouTube? Derek and Josiah here, back at it again. So, week 2 so far. Week 2, episode 2 of the podcast. Getting a little rhythm going now.
Yep.
So, what are we going to talk about this week, Josiah?
Well, this week we're going to be talking about manlyhood a little bit. We're kind of, like, each week we're going to have, like, a main question, and we're kind of going to talk through it with each other and try to have a good conversation on the topic at hand and the question, and, you know, maybe there's something that you guys can take away from it. That's kind of what we hope for, and at the same time we hope that it entertains you. But we do stick to our mission, and we do want you to come away with value from this podcast or YouTube channel, wherever you're listening from.
For sure. So what does it mean to be a man? Well, I think it can mean a lot of things. I think there's a lot of roles that men need to play in society, you know, for sure. Well, first off, you know, accountability. As you might hear, if you're watching this, you've probably watched some other people on YouTube that have said similar things, where, women and children and dogs don't have to provide anything. As long as they're pretty and, you know, they do what they should, they're taken care of. Men are the only ones, I'm phrasing it wrong. Women, children, and dogs are the only things that are loved unconditionally. Men are only loved if they provide something. Think about that for a second. I've heard a few people say that. So what does it mean to be a provider? Well, you provide to yourself, first and foremost. If you do have a family, you provide to your family or children. And then also you provide to society. What are you doing for the greater good of other people? So a provider? Service. Yeah, for sure. Would you agree with that?
I would agree, 100%. I think that provision is definitely definitely something that every man should strive for, is to be a provider. Because it also kind of goes well with purpose and meaning. What is the meaning of life, too?
Right.
I think when you're giving and you're helping other people, directly or indirectly, whether it's, whether they get to enjoy what things you have, maybe it's a girlfriend or a wife or whatever, they kind of adopt whatever you have, right? Kind of like how in like religions and stuff, you adopt your Heavenly Father or your, whatever religion, is out there that some people follow. That you kind of receive whatever your Father has for you, and I think that's kind of like where my mind goes too, and not just monetarily, financially, because the guy, the man is working and making money.
Right.
I mean, that's like the obvious provision, but like I think, providing in many ways. But yeah, I know. I definitely. For the most part, I mean, it kind of is just that way. I mean,
and
like it's almost hard to
right.
explain 100% like why that is. Like maybe you'd have to go back to
And it may sound a little, philosophical, but it's like that's the way it is because that's the way it's been. It's like It's just, I think it's so ingrained in culture, but also I think men, there's something in our brain from a neurochemical standpoint that gets a lot of value and a lot of clarity and a lot of dopamine out of providing and giving back to people. And kind of that it's not like your ego, it's something completely, it's pure love, pure sacrifice almost. That drives men. And men who have never experienced that, that's something to experience, giving back. Whether it's time, whether it is money, Mm-hmm. You know, whether there's someone at work that's struggling with something and maybe you got to teach them something. You got to be a teacher for a little bit. You know? We both had those experiences.
Yeah. No, I agree. So when we think about our question, like, what does it mean to be a man? Like, what? Like, was that just, like we had just, was it really, like, was it made up? Like, you know, like, did someone just, like, like, you know, they're just having kids or something, and it's like, okay, this guy's got this genitals, and this girl's got this going on, and we're just gonna say girl and boy, and then, you know,
it's like
I know in the Bible it refers Adam and Eve, man and woman. Yeah. So I personally believe that, but you know, you gotta just, like, I don't know, you just gotta think, like, if you don't believe in that, where, like, let's say you're not a Christian or you don't believe in what I just said. Let's say, so how do you know, maybe this is gonna be good for you then. How can I be a man if being a man can never be identified? If there's nothing that I believe in to identify me as a man and what comes with that. Yeah. Because, you know, like how this whole what is a woman thing coming out, you know? Yeah. With that one guy, I haven't really looked at it a ton, but it's just like every person he asks what is a woman has like a lot of them have different answers, because it's all about it's about your, like, what ground do you stand on? Right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, where are you? Where's your head at? Where are you? Very philosophical and stoic, and you 100% devote your life to being a stoic, or not? Maybe you don't call yourself that or something, but you live it a little bit. But you're a Christian, or like, where, you know? I think that's interesting, because it's like, where does this idea come from? Why does it have any value? You know, it's I don't know, like how we got to this point. I don't know. Right. But, like, I know that's the way it is, and I know, like, if you want to succeed in society and you want to succeed in life, like, I think there's certain characteristics that men naturally have, and if they don't embrace those. So what are those? Let's talk about those too, because I'm curious to see what you you know, what are some characteristics of. Yeah. So now we can kind of define being a man through some characteristics. Yeah. And what we believe, right? And this is maybe more of the educational part. You know, obviously, you know, we believe what we believe, but we hope to help you. Yeah. You know, if you don't believe anything, or you know, if you hear something that you're like, oh, you know, okay, that's good, then maybe you can adopt that, or you know. Or maybe it'll just make you think differently. Yeah, about something. Take it with. Well, I think to be a man, it means, you know, first off, you got to have morals. You got to have something that you stand for. Okay. You know, there's lines that you don't cross. You know, for me, I always put, for my position in life, I always put 100% of the responsibility on me. You know, how much money I have in the bank account, how successful I am at my job, how physically fit I am, how my mental strength and mental health is. I take full responsibility for it. I'm never going to pull the victim card. Right. Like, I know exactly. Like, work was stressful, so that's why I went to the bar tonight and got drunk. No, I went to the bar tonight and got drunk because that's what I fucking wanted to do. Yeah. You know what I mean? Right. Sorry for swearing, but it's like I take 100% responsibility, and I think that's a characteristic that a lot of men, and just people in general, men and women, don't really have. You know, a lot of people like to feel like they're, you know, the things that influence their life are outside of their control.
They're like a boat out in the ocean, and the winds of life are just blowing them around. But they don't realize that they're the captain, and there's a wheel, and there's a rudder, and they can control exactly where they're going with things called choices. And I accept the fact, like, for example, me and Josiah have talked about this. Josiah is in excellent physical condition. I'm lacking. Like, I'm not in as good of shape as I want to be. That's something that I'm working on right now because everybody's always working and growing. But that's something where it's like I take 100% responsibility for it. It's like, I'm not big boned. You know what I mean? I'm not ever gonna say that, or something like that. Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's interesting, but I think just taking 100% responsibility for your actions and for your life.
Okay.
Sorry, that was a little bit of a tangent, but
no, that was exactly what I was wondering.
I mean, do you agree with that the outcome of your life is completely in your control?
Yeah.
And being a man is accepting that?
100%. But do you think, okay, see, I'm trying to like trick myself too when I ask these, like, when we're asking these questions.
Play the
so it's like,
advocate.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, I'm thinking like man versus woman, because that's so prevalent on my mind, at least. It's like, with all this stuff we're seeing right now, just
and men have been attacked in the media for sure. I think there's forces at play that want to discredit men, but opposites attract. Negative always attracts positive, and men and women are so different. That's why they complement each other. That's why they make a good relationship.
Sure.
Because they're men are kind of security, the provider. Women are more of like the comfort, the nurturement. Like it's kind of just the roles that they play. You know what I mean?
Right. So do you think that there can be roles or characteristics of a man that you just define that a woman can or should have too? If we're talking about, like, maybe not providing, let's say not providing, but like, you were saying something about value or success.
Morals?
Stuff like morals. Like, do you think that she should follow, like, let's say you had a wife, you think that she should follow your morals as the leader? Or...
Yeah, I mean...
Or you know what I mean? Or is it like, she doesn't... Like, women don't need to come up with morals themselves. They just need to follow the morals of the men. And if the men... This is one theory that people have. If the men start to not have morals and live by them, then society crumbles. And... It's like some people are saying that that's kind of what's going on in the last,
the fourth turning. And that's what it is, I'm sure you've heard this quote. Strong men create good times create weak men create bad times create strong men. And we're kind of at that transition now where, where weak men are creating bad times, or maybe we're heading into some bad times. They're going to have to create some strong men.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite people to listen to, Patrick Bet-David, great entrepreneur, great, content online.
Mm-hmm.
He says, and I firmly agree, these next, 12, 24, 36 months are going to be some of the biggest opportunities of our lifetime.
Yeah.
Probably of the next 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
And are you prepared for it?
Right. And by the way,
go ahead.
Just real quick, if you guys don't know who Patrick Bet-David is, look him up on YouTube. We're going to shout out a lot of people that we have listened to and that has changed our life in one aspect or another. We're not holding anything back here, and we're not sitting here thinking we're gods. We know our value, and we know that every man and woman, probably mainly men, or
it's probably mostly
young men.
Yeah.
That are watching this have value. We know that you guys have value. We know the value that you guys have, and that you can provide to society. And you know what? In 20 years from now, I want to live in a society that, dude, I go outside and we look at each other and everyone's just on the same page. And it's just, you got your money today. You're providing for your family, your kids and your wife. How are they doing? Great. We'll see on our month-long vacation next week, and the Bahamas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we built a beautiful company or whatever, like I want that not just to be me and Derek. I don't want it to just be like
a smaller group of people.
Smaller. I
want everyone to prosper.
I think that because first of all, the more people that are prospering around you, the better you're off.
Yep. The more opportunity.
Yeah, opportunity, absolutely. So
that's interesting to think about, where it's like,
dude, I mean, it's like investing in Bitcoin now. I'm playing the long term game.
Long game, yeah.
And all the indicators say buying right now. Little teaser for a few weeks out. But all the indicators, which we will show. They're all saying, technical analysis is pointing right towards buy.
Well, and if you're not accumulating right now, and I don't care what it is, I don't care if you got,
you're buying AMC at $6.32 a share right now.
Yeah, yeah.
it's I don't know if you've seen, but it's.
I'm not buying that shit. No, thank you. But yeah, I don't know. I don't. Yeah, sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent. But so what does it mean to be a man? Think about it. And what does it mean to you? It might be different for me and Josiah.
Yeah.
But is it? Ask yourself a few questions when you're thinking about it. What's the type of man I want to be? Does it benefit society? Because as Josiah was saying, he wants to be able to walk down the street in 20 years and see everybody prospering. But that starts so small. It starts with your choices and what you're doing in the home. But if more people do that, it just brings society up as a whole, and we can take our country and our nation and our communities to a whole nother level.
Yeah, and I don't think we got to grow up. I think a lot of people, and there's a quote that I'm gonna try to pull up, but it basically said that at a point you gotta deny the negligence, I think it was, of being an adolescence.
You have to.
I'll have to find it.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson talks a lot about this too, where it's like you have to let your childhood go. He uses the analogy of Pinocchio. He leaves his father's home. You have to go off and chart a course and set a life for yourself.
Yeah. So the quote is, and I don't know this guy, but David Gilmour said, "Manhood is the defeat of childhood narcissism." So I'm not an expert on the dictionary, but narcissism, it just seems like the way I think about it when I hear that is like, how when you're growing up, it's all about me.
You feel like you know everything at like 14?
Yeah. You know everything. The world revolves around you.
Right.
Because you're getting taken care of, Yeah. You're everything's made for you.
Right.
And
you're young, you got all these hormones going, you're like, you're just like, you feel so like in power, like exactly. You're between that age where it's like you're becoming a man, like physically and a little bit mentally, but you're still like a mama's boy, Yeah,
and I think it's just growing out of that. That's actually a really good starting point. That's a really good point with this question. That's like the origin of being a man, other than birth. But like,
it's like not being a boy.
Is exactly what is being a man. Well, for the male, not a man, for the male gender.
Yeah.
Right. There's a difference between a male boy and a male man. Right. One delivers food. No, one delivers mail. No, male. Like there's a difference between a boy and a man, obviously.
Right.
But the transition is kind of what we're getting at. The defeat of the childhood narcissist or the childhood delinquent. Right. I think that's a big thing too. Is even in our early 20s, dude. Like between you and I. Most of the guys and girls we see, out there right now are a little delinquent with their lives.
No,
and I'm not hating on it.
Right.
But this is the point. Is we're like, all right, let's, you know, can we try to get it together? Like, we're not perfect, obviously, but we're trying to see here, you know, is there something we're on to here? Is there something that we can kind of pull from out under the rug that's been there for a decade or two, that people just have been, you know, this whole, maybe it's the manhood thing that we're talking about. Maybe it's all of the things we're going to be talking about, the things that we're going to be pulling out of the rug here at Grind Time.
Right.
You know, and exposing, and through exposure, it's going to actually develop a lot of solid young men and women. If a woman watches this, they're getting a insight into and
they're probably
a mature young man.
Yeah.
Who has, you know, obviously for us it's a little different because most people haven't spent, you know, on average an hour a day for the last 7 years.
Maybe not quite that long.
You know what I mean?
But definitely, like, legit, probably close to 5,000 hours each, you know, of probably more, honestly. Probably, like, maybe 8. But, like, yeah,
my point is most people don't, and this isn't, you know, this is for you guys. Ready? So when you, and this is going to be in other episodes too.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. But when you're so dedicated to becoming the man that you want to be, right? Becoming the person you know you need to be able to be with the woman you want to be with someday, or be the woman you want to be for the man you want someday.
Yeah.
You need to do these things, right? We'll talk about this stuff in other videos, and maybe we can just lightly touch on it today.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about when you go to bed, right? How many people, right? If this room was full of 100 people, how many people our age, if I ask the question from 8:30 or 9 to 12 o'clock at night, how many of you are on your phones? Period. Just on your phones. I guarantee everyone would raise their hand if you're on your phone at least once.
Yeah.
For something other than educational purposes.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, everyone. Okay, it's funny. What if you spent the last hour of your night, you know, doing something else?
Doing something, productive, getting some value out of it.
Right.
Like even like
studying
or
things that you're lacking in life.
So early in the morning, and then also very late at night, like before you go to bed.
The first and the last thing?
Yeah, so during these times, this is when your subconscious is very vulnerable.
Mm.
You know, where it's kind of like open, like you're very like relaxed at night and like kind of ready to fall asleep. Unless you're anxious about something, but for the most part, that's how it is. And then in the morning, you're kind of the same way when you're, you know, starting to wake up.
Mm.
So it's like, what are you consuming during those hours?
Yeah.
You know? Like even, I absolutely love, I'll put on like Jordan Peterson or like Stoic quotes. Another one of my favorites, if you haven't heard of him, you should listen to some of his stuff. Bob Proctor. I'll like just put them on like
Earl Nightingale.
Earl Nightingale, yep.
I mean, we'll, you know, if you guys want, you know, we're definitely going to eventually have a website, and we're going to have a place that you guys can go, because we want to do this for you guys. I want a place where you guys can go, right? And they can just see like a, you know, like a treasure map to where they want to be.
Almost like a community.
And it's like a guide.
Yeah.
It's a guide. It's going to be that you want to make more money? Listen to these people. I'm not going to get you on some drop shipping website crap, whatever.
Right.
No. I'm going to get you on start here
and change your mindset.
Go here and then start walking. Right? like chill out. Like don't make any sudden movements, right? Just use your head first, right? Think smarter, not harder, right?
And kind of just taking a sneak peek, you know, before we wrap up in a little bit, like kind of going on that, you know, being very intentional. And when you want to make a change in your life, you have to be very intentional. Very intentional. You can't slip up, because the things you've been doing, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That's the definition of insanity. So are you doing the same thing and expecting different results? I think most people have done that, at least at some point in their life, you know. Yeah. But it's just like being intentional in what change do you want to make in your life. And then also it's like kind of like the treasure map. Yeah, you know, you figure it out, but it's also how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. It's 1% every day.
Yeah.
It's 1% every day.
Yeah.
Not 10% today and then I'm back to where I was tomorrow.
No.
It's 1% every day.
It's like brushing your teeth.
It is.
It's not that much time. Guys, and like I can attest to this 100%, we both can. But you know, like we're not, you know, just to make it very clear, we're not here to brag. We're here to literally tell you this is what you're going to feel like if you do this every day for 5 years straight, 4 or 5 years straight. I guarantee you in 2 or 3 years it's going to change your life. But if you consciously take an hour a day to rewire your brain, and we're going to get into that in probably the next few episodes here.
Yeah.
But rewiring your brain, and not just your belief system necessarily, and because, you know, if you have morals that you stick to, that's awesome. We do too. And we're not here to like change your mind on, you know, what God you believe in or whatever. But if you listen to our point of view and you decide to, that's another story. But we're not preaching necessarily here. Yeah, where was I going?
Rewire your brain.
Yeah, we're not
take an hour a day.
Yes, but we're just not trying. We're not trying to make you. You know, it's not like that. It's more like a habit. Like
yeah.
And then influence, right?
And I think this is something that successful people do all the time. Is they're always learning. They absolutely love education. Yeah. You know, they absolutely love learning new things, thinking about things differently, opening those doors inside your brain. And most people just don't. Most people walk around like effing zombies. Like they literally just they're just, you know, they got the blinders on. Like they're not really aware of their surroundings, and that's because they don't know what they're looking for. You don't have goals, you don't have an intentions. When you know where you're going, you know what is in front of you and what path to take, because you already know the end destination. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't connect the dots looking forwards. You can only connect them looking backwards. But you gotta have that picture.
Yeah.
You become what you think about.
Yeah.
You become what you think about. So what are you thinking about?
Yeah. And to kind of finish what I was saying, now that it came back to me a little bit, I guarantee you, if you're struggling with anxiety and depression, if you do some of these things that we're going to be talking about, stay tuned, please. Because if you do these things, I promise you, it will, if not complete, like 99% get rid of your anxiety problem, it will help so much.